Hello and welcome, Lindsay, and our canvas is a whole different matter. It is very much that.
Degrees of banking as we work in around this place, so pass this place around, which puts the slide job move down into the corner.
In practice, and in fact, and is very important, and there's only 3 and he leads it by Dixon, despite the fact that gap back, Jason Kristen are tied back, but then I think by this point.
At a number 6 spot, he did gain Alex Bates, is sitting 78 back. Davidson and Bryce Witz are back from the Kristens. The Foos, you can pretty much count those guys out of it.
Probably more than once, because you can get spun. There is actually one, Jeff Ward, who has only sits second on the grid, probably the best spot to
26 trucks. Top spot, but it's no support in practice as well.
And sitting there in ASRS, the ASRS do not believe that they will have a clean race with 36 trucks, so they're going to put a cap. Last week at Talladega it was at 30 trucks, so we believe that's what it'll be this week. And only the top 26 qualifiers are locked in. After that, it's about who gets the provisionals. And what's it looking like, Evan? Last time I checked, there were a couple of big names down at the bottom of the qualifying order.
Yeah, if you're going in strictly off of time, and again, we haven't factored in all of these provisionals, but Jim Foose is 26th on speed with a 22.611. So everybody behind him, Steve Ritter, Daniel Deffler, David Gibson, Sean Music, all these guys back here. I mean, you got almost 10 trucks, as we had 34 of them take the qualifying grid and actually go there to put a time down. A lot of these guys, Carson Obey way in the back, Brandon Wilkinson, Steve Buhala, a lot of fast trucks back here that if they don't get maybe those limited amount of the provisionals and be able to put up in this field, they could actually miss the show.
Alright, well, the field is getting gridded up on pit road, so let's take you through the qualifying order. It's Jeff Ward and Cody Gibson, as aforementioned, on the front row. 1/1000th of a second separating them, can't get closer than that. Keith Medeiros is in third, with Dan Murray in fourth, a relatively new name. Jared Hagley and Nick Cohan are on the third row. Randy Smith, also a new name, starting 7th, lined up alongside him. The number 15 truck of Ricky Hardin. Tim Johnston and Thomas Bennett round out the top 10, Evan.
And that's where we find the number 13 of Gary Whitson. He'll be starting P11. 12th going to go to Tanner Sharp. 13th to Alex Bates. 14th position to L. Bryce Whitson Jr. John Martin going to take up P15. 16th, Nick DePalmo. Jake Morris going to be 17th position. 18th, Travis Wright. And Jason Swan, Jordan Harnish going to make up row 10 and round out the top 20.
Dan Winter, one of our chasers who's been struggling a little bit, starting 21st, lined up alongside him. Jeffrey Gilliam. Aaron Cleanhands, and I believe I was getting... Oh, I know what was happening. I'll get to that in a minute. Aaron Cleanhands starting on row 12 alongside Benny Ellison. And then Jason Kristen and Jim Foose were the last two to make it in on time. After that, the big names I see are David Gibson, qualified 29th, so he should get a provisional. And I guess the rest will go on a qualifying time. So that will be Steve Ritten 27th, Daniel Deflin 28th, Sean Music in 30th, and I don't know, Evan, where does it look like a cutoff point is back there? Because it looks like all the trucks are on pit road now.
It looks like Adam Blattle, Steve Buhala is on grid. Blattle is not. Brandon Wilkinson, I do not believe, is going to make the show. Here's the official order. So the drivers that do not qualify are going to be the number 9 machine of Steve Ritter, the number 33 of Don Runkle, the number 32 of Mark McDaniel, the number 56 truck of Brandon Wilkinson, the number 64 machine. I actually don't see number 64 on the grid, but that's the word coming from race officials. And the number 104 machine as well, not going to make the show. That's Adam Blattle.
And I've got these two drivers confused before, and I don't know why, because they have completely separate names. I said Keith Medeiros starting third is not regularly a front runner. He is, in fact. For some reason, I was getting him confused with Aaron Cleanhands, who actually starts 23rd. The names aren't similar, but I don't know, they just threw me off a little bit. Keith Medeiros is a regular front runner, but he is not in the chase. He is starting third. Aaron Cleanhands is starting 23rd. He is a chase driver, and he's going to have a bit of work to do, but honestly, Evan, I think he's out of striking range already in the chase. Meanwhile, the lights are off on the pace car, and Jeff Ward and Cody Gibson will be bringing them to the green flag next time by.
And race leader going to elect to take the inside, as Jeff Ward has the ability to choose inside or outside. Pace car drops down to pit road. It is going to be the 89 car in control in 3 and 4.
Jeff Ward in the blue Yeti truck on the low line. He will want to get a really good start though, because the high line has more banking, and that is definitely the desired line. They're coming off of turn 4 right now, and green flag flies. It's a late start for all of them. Jeff Ward is not clear of Cody Gibson yet. Now he is. He's got to try and put the slide drop on him now and get up on that high lane. There he goes. Now he's got the grip, he's got the banking, and Jeff Ward should be able to pull away. The first battle is for 3rd place.
And it's Cody Gibson trying to get clear of that machine in front of him. The number 5 car is actually battling now through the corner, and it is going to be the number 65, Keith Medeiros, will slide up in front of Dan Murray. Behind him, the 57 of Jared Haggerty, who was actually held for some sort of infraction for the first 2 minutes of qualifying, sits right behind them in P5.
Daniel Deffler started from the pit road, so I believe he's already gone the lap down. We already saw some street wide back in the middle of a pack, but it looks like they've sorted themselves out now. It's 2 by 2 at the most, but these drivers are going to want to get single file because no one wants to be down on that low line.
Yeah, Randy Smith was stuck down there, and he'll pull up in line now behind Tim Johnston for P9, this time at a quarter number 2, but that 12 machine lost at least 2 positions on that last lap as he was stuck down on the bottom, and again he was able to pull up in front of Thomas Bennett. It looked like Bennett cut him a little bit of a break down at a 1 and 2, which had allowed that number 12 machine to tuck up in line, but so far everybody in front of him single file, and a little bit of advantage for Jeff Ward, holding that over the next place car, Cody Gibson, about half a second.
Very impressive to see Cody Gibson up this high, this early on. Keith Medeiros in 3rd place. As I say, he's a front runner before. Dan Murray, a bit of a new name to the series. He's regular in the iSuper Speedway series that we broadcast a few weeks ago. He got a win there, I believe. So we'll wait to see how good he is on the short tracks. Currently, he's putting on a rather impressive performance, Evan.
Dan Murray very strong in the A and the B class cars that I've seen in the past with him, but also running that truck out there. He also runs a truck series, I believe, on Friday nights as well, so showing what he can do here on these very low bank tracks. Again, it takes a lot of patience. You want to be able to pick up the throttle, but if you do it too early, you're obviously going to end up in the outside retaining wall coming off the corner. So it takes a driver with a lot of patience to roll into these races, be able to let that truck roll through the corner, pick up the throttle at the right time, and be able to carry that momentum down these straightaways here. So Murray sits P4. The gap's still same, and actually we got trouble back at the back. Caution flag to fly at a quarter number 4. Don't see a car around at the moment, but we do go under yellow.
Thomas Bennett was into the inside wall. I'm not sure. He did get sideways. I don't think he hit much, but he stopped on the apron, and I think that's what brought the caution out.
Oh yeah, there you got it. Quarter number 4. Looks like a self spin. I mean, he had a truck right behind him, but similar to what I saw a couple of these drivers in practice, as soon as that thing starts to snap around, really no chance at it. Had the wheel locked all the way to the right, and was able to keep it out of the wall. Did get back going. Actually got some left side damage, a little bit of left rear damage when he started to accelerate to get back up onto the racing surface. So I do believe that is going to be the cause of the caution.
Yeah, and we'll see if we get some takers on pit road under this caution. I believe towards the back we will. We are currently not even 10 laps through this race, and we did see a couple of incidents at the beginning. I have a feeling, though, we're going to see several more cautions, Evan, during this race, and it's probably going to become a very strategy-based race where some drivers can gain or lose positions based off of strategy. But right now, it's just drivers at the back of the field coming down pit road under this first yellow.
Yeah, a very short stint, so obviously the guys towards the back of the pack that really don't have anything to lose from coming down pit road at this point get to come down, get some service, and back off, and maybe they hope that if we get another quick caution, the leaders come in, they'll be able to, pick up spots and evidently walk away on the positive end of this first cycle of caution flag pit stops. But again, these races and at these short tracks, it's just so hard to not get yellows, and it doesn't even come down to the drivers. They got in. It's the fact that the way you have to drive this track is so hard. You got a lot of these guys out here that, especially guys that are in the championship, guys that we talked about when we ran through those standings, fourth on back, that are starting to get real desperate. They're forced to drive desperately, and in the end, that's what causes such exciting racing. And unfortunately, this track, the fact that, again, you have to ride right up against that outside wall is going to force guys, and maybe not so much now in the race, Samuel, but definitely later on in those closing laps, really try to make some crazy moves, and that's when you see the true short track nature of these guys come out.
Daniel Deffler is a one truck currently not on the lead lap. He started from pit road late for whatever reason. I was waiting to see if he would get a wave around and put all 30 trucks back on the lead lap. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, but if we do get another caution, he should be in good hands. The 6 drivers that did not start the race for official confirmation were Brandon Wilkinson, Carson Orbe, Don Runkle, Steve Ritter, Adam Blattle and Mark McDaniel. So we had 30 trucks take the green. They're beginning to get double file even though the lights are on, which makes me think we're coming to the one to go, and Jeff Ward will have control of the field again, and unless ASRS make an exception, and it looks like they're going to, look at that, they're going to let Jeff Ward, the race leader, control the restarts from the outside line, I believe, Evan.
That was one of the things that race administrator Jim Foose talked to these drivers about in that quick drivers meeting in the closing moments of the qualifying session, was the fact that they were actually going to allow the race leader to decide whether he wanted to start on the inside or the outside. Lights do go off on top of the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car, and we saw Jeff had to start on that inside on that initial start, and he was able to get clear down into the corner. Now he's going to maybe test the waters out a little bit, see how that outside works, and I mean, why not? Now's the time that you want to test out both lanes. It's early in the race, and then he'll take the information that he gathers from both these two different kinds of starts, and we'll put that into effect here for later on in the race. But pace car's off, and we're going to get set for another restart. Going to be the 07 on the inside.
So we'll wait to see what Keith Medeiros can do there on the inside lane in the course light number 7 truck. We're on board here for the restart. Jeff Ward has control of the field, and as has became famous for Jeff Ward, he gets a very good restart and already pulling out truck lengths ahead of second place Cody Gibson. Side by side battle for third, that is Keith Medeiros on the inside, able to clear Dan Murray on the X-Off 2, and there's Pratt behind him. Nick Cohan, one of the chasers, right in front of the middle of the field, and Gary Whitson's in it, and there's going to be a lot of trucks in this one.
And the track just got blocked down into quarter number 3, and multiple trucks going to get some heavy damage. The 2 truck is in this one. I see the 40 car involved as well. The 13 machine, how about that? The 13 of Gary Whitson is going to get damaged from that one. The 00 of Vel Bryce Whitson Jr. just snuck by on the bottom there. And again, they all piled in up top there, going into 3 and 4, about 4 wide worth of trucks trying to get around that. And there was just not enough room, and that's what's going to cause a huge incident.
And as ugly as that was, especially for a few of our chase drivers, Jim Foose, Gary Whitson and Nick Cohan, that could have been a heck of a lot worse. Meanwhile, Thomas Bennett actually just lost the connection. He brought out our first caution of the day. It looks like there was a lot of smoke coming out of the back of Nick Cohan's truck. I have a feeling that may be night to his championship chances, Evan.
Yeah, and I talked about entering this race when we were talking about the possibilities of those guys towards the tail end of the championship standings having any sort of realistic shot. And I said that unless the guys, the top 2 in the championship really that have a stranglehold on the rest of this field have some major issues, then everybody else is out of it. Same goes for everybody else. If you have a major issue, you're done. Because out of tonight, race 4 of 7 in this chase for the championship with only 3 races left to go. Not going to be anywhere enough time to make up ground, and then obviously digging yourself a hole in tonight's race. Add that on top of the gap that you already had to make up entering tonight. You could pretty much guarantee counting yourself out of it.
2 other chasers who received minor damage in that collision were Aaron Kleinhans and Jason Kristen. Jason Kristen had pretty much been running at the very back all race. He does not seem to be able to get a hand of this track. And I will put a shout out. I kind of mentioned this in the last caution. This time Daniel Deffler does get the wave around, so he will be back on the lead lap, but unfortunately it looks like a few of the Tracers are already a lap down and probably going to lose a couple more here. Jim Foose just coming out of the pits now, but Gary Whitson's still on the pits with damage. This has got to be a big boon in the championship to his cousin Bryce Whitson.
He was just about clear on that bottom, and unfortunately enough for Gary, just caught that spinning machine in the middle of the racetrack, and it looked like pretty instantly the way that he hit it was causing some thick black smoke to pour from the engine on his Chevrolet, so obviously that's not going to help him out at all tonight, and that has resulted in where he sits right now, as you talked about, down on pit road and trying to get some extent of repairs done. Already one lap down, still down there getting service. Last truck on the lead lap at the moment is the number 40 of Nick DePalmo. So Jim Foose is one lap down. Look at his Menard Chevrolet, still supporting those pink colors for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. He's going to be a lap out of it. Nick Cohan's one lap down, currently still in his stall. Now you have Gary Whitson, who's gone 2 laps down as well. So a lot of these guys, and a majority of them actually, you know, are front runners. Big names that you see up front in a lot of these races are already multiple laps down in the early portions of this race.
Yes, very much so. Now, being one lap down, as the pace car lights are off, being one lap down is a whole different story to being multiple laps down. If you're one lap down and you're fast enough, you can get that lap back, whether it be by strategy or pace. When you fall more than one lap down, you're in trouble, I'm afraid. Anyhow, Jeff Ward has control of the field and will be keeping a special eye on Bryce Whitson, because remember, if Bryce Whitson has a bad race, that could entirely close the championship back up. Jeff Ward, though, has control of the field and once again gets off to one of those fantastic restarts.
And interested enough, he once again chose the inside. This time he's able to get equally as clear. Battles on for third. The 65 of Keith Madero's trying, and he will now get up in front of Jared Haggerty coming off of quarter number 2. Down the back straightaway. That was the quick battle for P4. Now the number 5 machine, Dan Murray, trying to hold off the number 15. Side by side behind them, though, for 7:38, 12 machine going at it. Advantage to the number 12 on the outside lane. That's Randy Smith at the stripe.
Nick Cohan and Gary Whitson still in the pits, just hoping there'll be a caution so they won't lose as many laps. And Dan Murray and Jared Haggerty very much almost causing it there. Look at Dan Murray getting loose on that bottom side. He is really pushing that truck, and he'll try and pull the slide job, but I don't think it's going to work.
3 wide. Big check up, the 00. Sorry there, Elbert Whitson Jr. Samuel. He went to the middle on the 38, the 12, and he got checked up, and the 26 had to take some pretty severe evasive action to not get caught up in that one. That was Tanner Sharp. Now he finds himself side by side. We're side by side up in front of these guys. That 38 machine of Tim Johnson on the inside of Randy Smith, and for a moment, everybody up front has calmed things down single file, but that mid pack area is still very treacherous. 38 going to check up and tuck down in line. That's Tim Johnston.
Yeah, and you would think Bryce Whitson would realise, hey, I've got a very good... Oh, and there's a crash behind him. David Gibson spins on the backstretch into the outside wall. Another truck hits him. That's Steve Bahala. It looks like just a 2-truck incident, but it does bring the caution out.
And again, that 3 just got sideways, and there's no way that these guys can hang on to it. By the time you realize that back end has stepped out on you, as we take a look at it right now, there's no reaction time. He had the wheel all the way to the right, locked it up, and unfortunately for him, unlike we saw in the first incident where that truck out of 4 was able to just kind of spin down to the inside and get going, he had a car tucked up right underneath him, and the 85 of Aaron Kleinhans got into the back of him, sent that 3 car around, and evidently into the field, and that looks like the 42 truck, I want to say, picking up some more damage as well. You mentioned Steve Buhala, and looks like it was limited to those 2 trucks, so another incident that, again, could have been a lot worse, but some pretty severe damage. The 42's down pit road, and looks like he may even be done with all that engine damage.
For those of our viewers who are new, you'll see in the top left-hand corner of the screen there is a timer counting down how much time there is left in this race. We're hoping it won't turn into a timed race, but if it gets a yellow flag, Phil, that could very well be the case. We are coming up to complete a quarter distance here under caution. Gary Whitson has been able to return to the circuit, but he's multiple laps down. He's still got damage, and in fact he's coming into the pits right now. Meanwhile, Jim Foose, it looks like, just got the wave around, so he might not be out of contention for at least a solid points night. Remember, if Bryce Whitson gets involved in any kind of incident, the points will still be looking fairly similar heading into next week's round at I forget which track right now. Texas Motor Speedway.
And Jim, one of those drivers that is working some pretty severe damage at the moment. So again, even though he'll get his lap back, he'll still be hindered by that. But I think the way this race has gone, and again, just the nature of this racetrack, don't expect to see a really long green flag run. So he'll be able to kind of hang out on that lead lap, pick up spots as guys either fall out from damage or slowly start to drop back via some race hit incidents there. And Jim's able to pick up some spots, but at a contention for a top running position that I'm sure he would have liked here tonight, but definitely not out of it again. Tonight could be one of those races. Whenever you come out to the short track, it's under the lights and possibly a full moon. Who knows the way this night's going to go. Things can get pretty wild, and a lot of these times, these races just turn into a survival of the fittest.
Yeah, full moon and, 9 days till Halloween, so the werewolves are out ripping the bumpers off of these trucks tonight. Meanwhile, Jeff Ward will have control of the field at the restart again, which will come, we believe, in about 2 laps, which will be the completion of lap 27, 73 laps left to go. A very long night, and for those new to the American Sim Racing Series, Evan mentioned it just a moment ago, this is a very clean series. They don't have free repairs, so they all race with the knowledge that if they wreck, they're pretty much done for the night, and also there is an incident limit of 20 points, so if you get involved in more than 5 accidents or so, you will be disqualified from the race. Put it this way, at Talladega Superspeedway last week, there was 1 caution, and that was just for a truck spinning on pit entry. So these guys certainly know how to race cleanly. Just the bumping and banning you're going to see tonight is just a byproduct of the track and racing on this circuit, Evan.
It's just the way the nature of these tracks. Again, these ones that you got to ride up against the wall. It's just so hard. The lack of banking. These trucks are so loose. Everybody's on the same equipment. You got to do what you got to do with it. Jeff Ward once again going to like to take the inside as he rolls the pack through 3 and 4. The 07 is going to pull up alongside him as we take the green at a quarter number 4.
And Jeff Ward, let's see if he gets another one of his great restarts. He does. Gets a little bit of a slide on the rear end, but still he'll be able to clear Cody Gibson, which is what he wants to do. Keith Medeiros takes another shot at Cody. Oh, and there's a spinner back in the pack, but he saves it. Nice save, and that's Bryce Whitson.
And we got a huge checkup. Oh, one truck around now. Looks like the 85, I want to say. Caution flag. The 38's going to go around as well. That's Tim Johnston. So it was a good save, and I was worried about the checkup that would ensue. And it was the 85 of Aaron Kleinhans who went 3 wide to try to get around it and was turned by the number 23 machine. Everybody else checked up and around it, and big junk down the back straightaway, as you would come to expect. Not the first time we've seen tonight that when there's trouble, it can be escalated by the fact that there's just nowhere to go with all these trucks packed into such a tight space, even with that field cap in place.
And Aaron Kleinhans did the right thing. He locked the brakes and tried to stop his truck from going all across the place so the others could just drive around him. But unfortunately, these drivers have been complaining of a very loose fixed setup here, so they really don't have a whole lot of control over this. But I've got to feel bad for some of these trucks just riding at the back with damage on their truck 7. They can't make up any track position because it's impossible to pass, and they keep getting involved in every single wreck because when one breaks out in front of him, they have nowhere to go.
Yeah, again, and it's just like that. There's nowhere to go. And even with the fact that, and you said that they put the field cap, they cap the amount of drivers that are able to make the main show because they want to be able to have a good race. And the fact that even though it is trimmed down, and most of these incidents have happened kind of towards mid-pack, so when you have these incidents happening in the middle of the pack, not only is it, escalated by the lack of room, but the fact that there's so many trucks behind them that need to find some way to cycle through. A lot of them, and a lot of the incidents even that coming off a corner exit. So, if it's down a straightaway, you can just kind of get over to the left, but if you're coming off the corner, really not a lot you can do about that. You just kind of hang on and hope maybe that some sort of lane opens that it allows you to kind of get around that and survive, because sometimes there's just nothing these guys can do about it to get away.
Nick DiPalmo and Aaron Kleinhans have both retired from the race, taking the field down to 28 trucks. Meanwhile, the truck riding in last place is Nick Cohan. He is currently 15 laps down. He is not ready to give up, Evan, because let's be honest, he's not going to get the lucky dog at any point during this race with all the cautions we're getting. So he's going to finish 15 laps down. So really what he's just racing for is he's got to hope that as many trucks drop out as possible.
It's that survival of the fittest mentality. The fact that, all right, I'm not going to get my laps back, but there's going to be people that drop out of this race. They're going to get too much damage to continue. That's where I can gain any sort of advantage. Try to get whatever points you can out of this. And then again, just survive to an extent. Get out of this race. Move on to the next one with whatever points you can kind of scrape out of it.
Alright, well, as we ride under, I believe, our 4th caution of the night, and we're only coming to lap 32 at the completion of this lap. Jeff Ward has led every single lap. Cody Gibson has pretty much been in 2nd the whole time as well. Keith Medeiros has been challenging in 3rd. Jared Hagley, haven't mentioned him a heck of a lot. He's running there in 4th. Dan Murray in 5th place, followed by Ricky Harden in 6th place, a regular at the front, but once again, we haven't mentioned him a lot tonight. Bryce Whitson, even with that slide, is able to hold on to 7th. Jeffrey Gilliam is in 8th, and Travis White and John Martin round out the top 10.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of these guys tonight, and you'll see 2 different kind of drivers. And there's some races, Samuel, that we'll see some guys, and they'll be the drivers with the flair. They'll drive real aggressive to gain spots. Tonight is the race that I think we're going to see these sleepers have the advantage. It's the pace car hits pit road, guys that mind their own business and just get to the end with as clean of a race truck as they can. Seems like Jeff Warden, that Blue Yeti Monster Energy Chevrolet, he likes the inside. He'll choose it again through 3 and 4.
Coming to complete a 3rd distance mark and gets a good restart once again. Wonder how many of those rear tyres can take. The battle's on for 2nd. Keith Medeiros giving it all he's got. I do it every time. Oh, and there's already a crash in turn 1 again. Who's that?
Caution gonna fly, trying to get a number on the truck
Jason
that went
Swan,
around
14.
there, and it looks like the 14, Jason Swan. He's around in the corner. That's a Steel Horse Racing entry.
And these guys just, I'm sure they just want to get some green flag laps under their belt. Meanwhile, Jeff Ward comes to the stop on the front stretch and almost gets run into the back of by a few trucks. They were all able to avoid each other. That was a very weird moment there.
This incident could have come from the fact that the 26 was just trying to get out of the way for an incident that was happening in front of him, and just either didn't see or didn't take a look over his shoulder before he tried to duck out of the line to get whatever he could out of it, and it sent that 14 machine around, the 14 evidently catching the inside retaining wall. And again, we quickly return to a caution flag period. And you know, as good as these drivers are, and you touched on it, and I talked about it as well, that this is a very clean series. These drivers know how to drive these trucks. This track is just so hard to navigate. These trucks fairly big. You know, this racetrack typically used for street stocks, maybe some modified racing, late models, that kind of thing. So these trucks get out here, not a lot of room for these big machines.
Yeah, and while we were watching the replays, there was a check-up. It looked like Jeff Ward thought he was supposed to wait on the pace car. I don't see Jeff Ward's name up front anymore. I'm not quite sure what's going on here.
Don't currently see him on track, trying to see if there was any sort of issue. He was pacing normally, and his truck just blinked out. So I believe he has he's lost connection, actually, from the top spot. Wow.
And Cody Gibson, because at the time the caution came out, who's this running up on the high line up there? That's Steve Bahala getting a lap back. Because Keith Medeiros got a better restart than Cody Gibson, he was able to take the lead when the caution flew because of Jeff Ward's retirement. So Cody Gibson, who's been sitting in 2nd all race, doing everything he could do, hoping that if Jeff Ward screwed up, he would take the lead. Finally, Jeff Ward, something happens to him, but he still remains in 2nd position because Keith Medeiros jumped him on the restart. And
sometimes
confirmation there. Jeff Ward's received thorough failed to an unacceptable level. That's what iRacing is telling us, and that means he lost the connection.
And that's the iRacing equivalency of what you want to call a mechanical failure, something out of your control. But again, to the point that you mentioned about these cars that keep trying to swap out or rather get to the top spot, a guy like Cody Gibson, you know, just sometimes, and again, the short track in Talladega, such, you know, polar opposites in you, but they almost drive the same way. You got to survive the race, and some things if it's not your night, it's not your night. Cody Gibson's been doing everything that that he's supposed to, and what you would think would be a big break for him ends up having him in the same spot that he was sitting, before. So no change for him. He'll be second. He'll still have to go back to work. He'll have to get a different machine in front of him this time, Keith Medeiros. Cody was doing a good job of hanging on to the gap that was set back when it was Jeff Warden leading, so we'll have to see how strong he can hang now with our new race leader, Keith Medeiros, as the lights go on for the pace car.
21 trucks on the lead lap for this restart. It looks like Keith Medeiros is going to try and take the high line for the restart. Let's get confirmation on that. He is in that, what do you even call that colour? Turquoise? Aqua?
Maybe a teal sort?
Maybe. Colours have never been my specialty. I'm an orange fan myself. Anyhow, the pace car has peeled off. Keith Medeiros is on the high line. Cody Gibson is on the low line. And we'll wait and see what kind of restarts Medeiros gets. He gets a good restart. And the battle's going to be on for second. That is Jared Haggerty, who takes second place. So now Cody Gibson finds himself all the way back in third.
Cody Gibson got absolutely caught sleeping, and it was the fact that Medeiros went maybe about 2 seconds before we were seeing Jeff Ward go, and he did the 65 accelerated still in the corner, which he's allowed to do as the control car, and it just absolutely caught Cody Gibson off guard. He'll go back at a P3. That now shuffles up Jared Haggerty.
Travis, no caution.
Oh, there's a couple trucks in the wall. The 23's in the wall, still green for the moment.
Yeah, Travis Wright hit the wall in the middle of turns 3 and 4, the number 23 truck, and he tried to pulled into the traffic of other trucks. There was a bit of beating and banning, but they were all able to keep it straight. But Travis Wright is dropped to the back of the field. Meanwhile, Keith Medeiros up front is still pulling away.
And now you see that 07 machine of Cody Gibson start to close in on Jared Haggerty just in front of him as they work down the back straightaway. The 07 machine trying to again make up some ground after the 57 was able to get around it. 07 kind of breaks a little early, is able to go low, is going to get sideways off the corner down to the apron. He'll hang on to it, cycle back up in line behind the 00, and that's how quickly now we even got more trouble behind them. Caution flags again. It's the 02 machine, I believe, Jason Kristen.
One of our chase drivers sitting right on the edge of, he's about 30 points back in the points, so he really needed a good night tonight. That's not going to help him, and he's pretty much been running at the back all night, not getting the hand of his track for whatever reason. And Travis Wright, I believe he was the number 23 truck that we saw up in the wall, he has retired from the race.
Again, these guys, and they race these trucks, and they're so good at these other tracks, but this racetrack is just so difficult. And that 02 of Jason Kristen, who brought out that most recent caution, just another one of those self spins. I mean, that's got to be the third, fourth time we've seen that coming out of a quarter, especially quarter number 4 tonight. I mean, we just saw it moments ago with Cody Gibson when he was trying to battle for the number 2 spot. Got sideways, he was able to hang on to it. Kristen was not. He was lower on the racetrack, so a little bit looser down there, and the top line by all means is equally as loose probably, but Jason was kind of side by side. He had a nose to the quarter panel of the truck in front of him, was maybe 2-3 truck lengths down off the wall, coming off the quarter, and I mean, he just lost it.
Yeah, and we're getting a replay of that now, and you'll see Jason Kristen, what happened to him as Evan was just explaining. So, meanwhile, up front, these drivers not pitted yet. I wonder how far their fuel tanks can stretch under caution. These trucks actually get pretty good gas mileage under the yellow flag. Keith Medeiros and Jared Haggerty will line up on the front row for the restart, and that looks like Tanner Sharp getting the wave around.
Yeah, not sure where they would stand on a possibility, if they stay out all race on being able to make it, depending on the extended amount of caution flags that we have seen so far in this race. Not sure if that's a possibility, because again, don't know how far these trucks can go on fuel at this racetrack in particular. But again, it's a game of roulette with these leaders, because they come down pit road, they're going to be right back at a pack where we've seen all the trouble tonight.
I'm looking down the points order to try and see if there's at least one chase driver who has not had trouble tonight. And the only one I can't recall calling is Alex Bates, but I'm looking at his truck and he's got a dent on it too. So really, I think it's just going to be whichever chase driver has the least worst night is going to come out on top, Evan.
Yeah, Talladega you talked about, and people always say Talladega is going to be the wild card race, the race that's going to throw a curveball into this championship, and so far it's proven not to be. I mean, it was a pretty calm race, I must say, last week at Talladega, and it could be the shorter of the two tracks here at Lucas Oil Raceway that could be the one that bites a lot of these chase guys.
It could very well be. Pace car lights are still on, so that means it will be at least lap 48, and I believe it will be lap 48 that they will get the restart, so we won't even be halfway yet, although granted it looks like we are good on time, so we should be able to get in the 100 laps. Hopefully we'll see more of them under green. Keith Medeiros currently leads, Jared Haggerty in second, Dan Murray in third, and then you go back to Bryce Whitson in fourth as the first of the chase drivers right now still. Despite a save and some three-wide racing, he hasn't had an uneventful night, Evan.
No, he was about, just as equally damaged as Gary Whitson, because those two guys were side by side in that earlier wreck there, and it was the 13 that got the short end of the straw, walked away with the most damage, and thankfully for that 00, he was able to walk away with, maybe some minor right side damage. His truck actually looks substantially cleaner than I would have anticipated, so he's fine. Race control does delay the green flag, and it looks like the 65 machine got out to take the outside lane on this ensuing restart, so that'll have Medeiros on the top, and once again now second place runner Jared Haggerty going to be forced to the inside.
I'm looking at the qualifying spots of the drivers currently running in the top 10. Three of the top 10 drivers started 20th or worse. It's Jordan Harnish in 6th, Daniel Deffler in 7th, who got the wave around not too long ago, and Jeffrey Gilliam in 8th, so we'll keep an eye on them. Pace car's been out for quite a while this time, but hopefully we won't see that Mustang pace car for not too much longer. Not that it's an ugly car, it's a pretty car. Anyway, we're going to ride on board Bryce Whitson on the upstairs on the high line for this restart. He'll be right behind the control car, Keith Medeiros, who's getting very close to Jared Haggerty before they even get to the green flag. This doesn't have a good look for it already, but Keith Medeiros gets off to a good restart. Jared Haggerty, now I don't know if Jared Haggerty's going to get a black flag here, Evan. He changed lane before they reached the start-finish line.
And it was pretty evident. It was not, close on some of these calls. It looked pretty clearly that 57 went right up to that outside lane, possibly to try to hold off the 00 of L. Bryce Whitson Jr. No black flag has been, given out at the moment. We hear a couple of trucks had some problems there on that restart back of the pack. You look at the secondary half of this pack, all these trucks are just absolutely torn up, but we hear some of these guys may need some sort of black flags there because somebody may have had some issues on that start. Nonetheless, no black flag for the 57 at the moment. It's old Keith Medeiros still up at a number 1 position. He's got about a 4/10 gap and now half a second at the stripe.
One truck getting loose off of turn 4 there. That was John Martin, who currently runs in 6th place, or maybe 7th place actually right now, but he was able to keep control. Meanwhile, Bryce Whitson has just moved up into 2nd place ahead of Jared Haggerty, so Bryce Whitson is on the move, and really, Evan, that's the best place for him to be, because it seems the trucks at the back have been the ones getting the short end of the sticks on all of the wrecks tonight.
Oh, and we just got some car turned down into the inside wall. Caution flag gonna fly once again. Believe it was the 45 of Alex Bates coming out of quarter number 4, and looks like he got sideways, and another self spin is gonna have that car in the wall, and back under yellow we go.
Which was great news for Bryce Whitson, because now he'll be able to catch up with Keith Medeiros, although granted Keith has put on a pretty impressive performance tonight. Let's not forget the last time we were at a track like Indianapolis Raceway Park was New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where Jeff Ward dominated the race and Keith Medeiros is coming into the pits, so they can't make it on fuel, but it doesn't look like too many of the front runners are coming with him, although I do see Dan Murray and the trucks behind him coming in, so we are beginning to see some strategy.
And Medeiros is going to come in, and as you said, some other trucks coming in as well. I see Dan Murray on pit road. Jordan Harnish is down there as well. Jake Morris in pit road also. The 81's down there as well, the 12, the number 66. So maybe about just under 10 trucks going to come down pit road. The good news for that 00, as you said, Bryce Whitson Jr. was going to be able to get up side by side with our leader and have that gap eliminated. Well, he's going to become the number 1 truck.
Yeah, but if these guys, if this much of a field really think, hey, we cannot make it to the end, why do you not come down pit road when Keith Medeiros came? Unless you're thinking, hey, I need to stay up front as long as possible so I don't get involved in any wrecks. Because honestly, if Keith Medeiros is able to keep that truck in one piece, knock on wood, eventually the trucks in front of him are all going to have to pit and he'll end up being the leader again.
Yeah, I took a look to see if, maybe some of these guys had pitted on our cycle of, earlier cautions, but the 00, not one of the trucks that did so. So, L. Bryce Whitson Jr. has yet to come down pit road, and, I mean, you can delay the inevitable, I guess. You're going to have to come down pit road eventually. That's at least what we're thinking with that many trucks coming down pit road that last time, especially our leader giving up the top spot. But, I mean, if you pit now, if you pit later on, you're still going to be back in the back.
Yeah, I want to finish the point I was making right before those trucks actually came into the pits about Keith Medeiros. The last time we saw the trucks on the track like this was New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where Jeff Ward pretty much dominated, and it looked like Keith Medeiros was the only truck that could beat him. How did Keith lose the race? He lost control on an indecisive move coming into the pits. He faked going into the pits, and when he pulled out and decided, hey, no, I'm going to stay out on the track instead, he lost control of his truck and put it in the wall, and I believe Jeff Ward went on to win that race.
And this race was set up to appear that it would see Jeff Ward once again go to victory lane. He was fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying, was the fastest truck on track by quite a little bit, Samuel, because on those, short little 5-6 lap green flag runs that we saw, all he was doing was putting time on those trucks behind him. And then again, the iRacing equivalency of a mechanical failure, the fact that you need to have a steady internet connection to the sim and to the server. He lost connection, he dropped throughput to unacceptable level. He's gone, and, that's what put Medeiros actually to the top spot at that point.
Pace lights are off. I'll mention briefly that the top 20 trucks are on the lead lap. 21st to 30th are all multiple laps down, so probably not going to win. That's Thomas Bennett, Steve Bahala, Sean Music, Gary Whitson, David Gibson. That's 21st through 25. Then Travis Wright, Jeff Ward, Nick Cohan, Nick DiPalmo, and Aaron Cleanhans are all not necessarily out of the race, but out of contention. Bryce Whitson chooses a high line for the restart. Let's see when he gets on the gas pedal. That's Travis Haggerty to his inside, and Bryce gets off to a nice restart.
Side-by-side battle for 5th on back is going to feature the number 14 on the outside lane, and with a small advantage over the 61, Jeffrey Gilliam's going to slide up in line, not before a crossover 15 car. To the inside, going to try to pick up that spot as well. That's Ricky Harded going to make the battle in 3 and 4.
Yeah, I was watching almost a street-wide situation with Jim Foose involved in it off of turn 2. They're actually looking that way coming off of turn 4 again. There's a lot of jostling in the back of the pack, but they're clean for now.
Ricky Harden still trying to work on the inside of that number 61 Chevrolet of Jeffrey Gilliam. Can't quite get clear that time, and 61 is actually forced to check up.
Keith Medeiros almost flips upside down. He was in a collision with Benny Ellison. Benny's able to hold on to it, but Steve Bahala got a big piece of that as well.
Yeah, Medeiros gets turned into the outside wall in that 3-wide battle. Looked like he was the one that initiated the contact. As taking a look at the replay right now, 65, you see, kind of stepped up the hill, maybe lost the back end, tried to hang on to it. 05 truck was there, got the 05 loose, that turned to 65 up onto his lid. There's no catch fence there, so that he could have actually gone over the wall there and been, for all intended purposes, done in this race. He came back down, hit another truck, went back up into the outside wall again, and that's what happens when you get cycled back in traffic.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's probably what Bryce Whitson was kind of hoping would happen, I assume, but Bryce has got to face the fact that eventually he'll have to come into the pits, we assume, and he'll be the one falling into the back of the pack and hopefully being able to work his way up through the field. So, take another bottle of beer off the wall, and we are now down to 19 trucks on the lead lap.
Survival of the fittest. You need to live. And I talked about the fact that, all right, you cannot come down pit road now, but you're delaying the inevitable. And the truck that did come down pit road, that did give up the lead, ended up on his lid. So, it's, again, there's no way to avoid the fact that at some point you're going to have to come down. for service, we believe. Otherwise, I don't see any reason why the 65 team would have come down pit road, if it wasn't necessary. And that's what happens. He ends up on his lid there in that heavy traffic.
Thomas Bennett gets a wave around. He was 3 laps down, so now gets to go up to being 2 laps down and will actually get 20th spot from Keith Medeiros. So Thomas Bennett, remember, only fell off the lead lap because he lost the connection early on. He did bring out the first caution of the day after a half spin on like the 6th lap. Really, the first green flag run we saw of this race has been the longest green flag run. It's been a bit of a caution fest since then. They'll be restarting with about 35 laps left to go. I wouldn't be surprised, Evan, though, if we do see at least one bit of a green flag run before the end of the race with this field beginning to thin out, although I have a feeling we haven't seen the last caution.
Yeah, I don't think these guys are done, and again, it's not like they're out there trying to wreck each other. I mean, you could say, well, that 3-wide situation could have been avoided. It definitely could have. But with Medeiros knowing that he has a strong truck, he was, trying to take advantage of whatever position gaining he could throughout the pack. Obviously, Beemerbag had to start getting positions picked up quickly because this race is starting to close in on the latter stages of it. And again, that quickly, that short 5-minute period from being, in P1 to multiple laps down and on your lid is the harsh truth for a lot of drivers tonight.
Yeah, and remember, as much as I get him confused with one of the chase drivers, Keith Medeiros is not a chase driver, so he was just here for the win, and it's just sad to see him on his lid, considering the fact he could have probably won had he not ended up on his lid. The pace lights are off on the pace car, and I want to give a bit of a shout out to Bryce Whitson. I know he's one of our stronger drivers anyway. He does a lot for this league. He has won a lot of championships, won a lot of races, without always having the fastest truck. He started 14th today and has worked his way up to the top spot. He has control of the field right now, but like we say, we're not sure that he can make it to the end on fuel.
And not only that, but the top spot has been cursed. We've seen 2 dominant trucks. They've either been wrecked out or dropped connection. The 00 is going to get his shot at it as he'll lead the field back to the green flag. He accelerates on the outside lane. We're back underway. Haggerty waits a little bit longer this time before he drops back in line side by side for 3rd. 87 and John Martin going to get clear. 13 machine now going to have to hold off the 38 on the inside. Tim Johnston will slide back to 5th.
That is the best restart anyone restarting second has got all day, and Jared Haggerty wants to make the most of it. He is looking all over the back of Bryce Whitson. He wants that lead, and he may get it now because Bryce Whitson just hit the wall coming off a 4. Jared Haggerty gets a bit of a run, but he doesn't do anything about it yet. The top 10 are about single file, although we see Ricky Hardin poking his truck down to the low line, not able to make a move yet. There could be a battle for 3rd, but I'm more concerned about this battle for 1st right now, although granted, Ricky Hardin really is trying to make something work, although it may backfire on him here.
Hey, that 57 was sideways coming off the corner. Jared Haggerty is digging for that number 1 position. He closes it in now. It's less than half a truck length. The 57 always sideways now on corner exit, trying to get anything that he can out of his Chevrolet as we close in on 30 laps to go here. In just a couple moments, a couple more laps will be in that market race, and he holds even with them, just a 10th separating those top 2. And now more trouble back in the pack. Caution once again, the 0-2 of Jason Kristen.
Not the first time we've seen Jason have a spill tonight. Also, Tanner Sharp involved in that. Jason, remember, is one of those who could end up with a good chase tonight. The good thing is his truck is still in one piece, and he should be able to get back going on the lead lap.
And again, another one of our drivers that's just minding their own business. Somebody on that inside. Turn 4 has really been, by a large margin, the calamity quarter tonight. Just another truck on that inside line. Side-by-side battle gets loose, and it was able to kind of try to correct it, step up the hill, and unfortunately it is Jason Kristen that gets the shorter end of the straw, and that one gets turned by the 26 of Tanner Sharp and goes around, and not a lot of contact, but still going to be damaged and still going to have to cycle himself back to the tail end of the lead lap, which again only sits 19 trucks strong, but still pretty significantly deep back in this pack. How about that battle, though, for the top 2 spots? Haggerty is going to give Bryce Whitson a run for his money here in these lead races.
He is, but I was very surprised that Haggerty wasn't making a move on Bryce there. Why do you think it is? Do you think he thinks it's too early, or do you think he thinks he doesn't have the truck? Because Haggerty's not a chase driver, so it's not like he has anything to lose. He should, in my opinion, he should just be here for the win tonight.
I think it's a mix of both those things that you said. The fact that it's still early in the race. He's not, fast enough to the point, and he's not blowing that double zero out of the water to the point that, he can just back up his corner a little bit more, fly by him on the inside. I mean, by all means, at 57, we've seen him sideways off the corner on the top side. So if he tries to force that thing down low, I'm pretty sure that then he'll get pretty loose on exit for him. But not only that, the fact that he isn't a chase driver, Samuel, I don't think he wants to try to pull a slide job on our race leader, take the race leader and evidently championship leader out, because I don't think that if he does that, I don't think we'll see him in any more races. So he's got to watch how aggressive he gets here.
Ty Hester comes to mind. All right, we'll move on from that now. Thomas Bennett. He was 3 laps down a while ago. He just got the wave around. He's only 1 lap down now. Now, here's the significant thing about that. If we get another caution and he gets back on the lead lap, the first truck not on the lead lap will be Gary Whitson. Now, he's 8 laps down, so I'm pretty sure he's not going to get 8 caution flags and make all of those up. But for each lap he makes up, that will be more opportunities of trucks he could pick off that crash out of a race. However, this extended pace car period is not helping him.
And as it sits right now, 21st position. He was 6 points behind Bryce entering tonight. If he finishes, I mean, even outside of the top 10, going to be a huge blow for him. And, this will go from being a 2-horse race to the fact that it could be dependent on, and it's one of the things that you hate to do as a race car driver, but, if this night does not, severely turn around and something, doesn't happen, and Bryce up at the top of the field and they're separated by this many positions, Gary's only shot would be that he would have to rely or depend on the fact and the hopes that the 00 would have some sort of issue, and you never want to be put in that kind of position. You want to be able to dictate your own fate in a race, in a championship battle as a race car driver, but you never want to be forced to rely on the result of somebody else. But, after tonight, he may have to do that.
Well, pace car lights are off now, and I'm going to be keeping both of my eyes, really, on Jared Haggerty, because he has been getting better and better restarts. And if Bryce Whitson makes the slightest mistake, he could go for the win. And I'm sure as much as Jared Haggerty doesn't want to get involved in any kind of collision with Bryce Whitson, he would really like to put that number 57 truck in victory lane. Look how close he is riding Bryce up there, just to make sure he gets the best restarts possible, uses the bank into its full ability. It works, he gets a good restart. The top 2 trucks are pulled away from the rest of the field as they head into turns 1 and 2.
And they got real close. 57 drove it in real hard. Did not get into contact with Bryce Whitson. He'll have a run at a 2. Does he look low? Does not have the momentum. Down the back straightaway now. 57. And Jared Haggerty continuing to apply the pressure. We're single file throughout the top 7. Side by side with the 51 of Jordan Harnish. Battling with Jason Swan for about P7. Swan going to get the upper hand on that one. As the top 2 now being chased back in. The 38 of Tim Johnston closing.
Not unusual to see Jordan Harnish pushing his truck to the edge like that. He's able to keep it clean so far, though. Bryce Whitson pulls out a bit on Jared Haggerty. Like you say, Tim Johnston, one of the chase drivers, closing in on 3rd. Truck's getting loose up there. Cody Gibson running 6th place, getting real sideways out of turn 4, but they stay on the green for now.
And now for a moment we go single file up the front of the field. The side-by-side battle back at the back sees Alex Bates going the wrong direction on the inside line. The 61 has been able to get up and clear from him. Jake Moore is going to be the next truck that is going to attempt to make the pass. 45 pushed him up high. And Alex is still not going to get clear quite yet. There'll be nose-to-nose at the stripe. So Alex Bates back here in pack. Oh, 81's going to get shoved down into the corner. What a save by Dan Winter as he got punted by the 26 truck. What about 30 degrees sideways? He hung on to it.
I thought he completely lost it on his own, but whatever the cause of it, Dan Winter did an impressive job to save that, one of our race drivers. And really, we haven't talked about the trucks running between 10th and 19th a heck of a lot tonight, but I have a feeling we may still hear from them before the day is done if this race begins to pick up a couple more caution flags and they're able to persevere for top 10 finish. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, the top 3 remain single file. There's a battle for 4th though. John Martin gets turned in front of the field. This could be big. Jim
Big
Foose,
jump, yeah, down the front stretch. And it all started at a 4. And again, everybody just piles into it. It all starts as a little bit of contact. The 15 looks like he slid up, maybe thought that he was clear. And when he did that, evidently just got into the back of John Morris, spun him around, and the rest was history there down that front straightaway. Big mess.
Very big mess indeed. About, I would say, maybe only 3, 4, 5 trucks involved, but a couple of them with heavy damage. And that brings out the caution again here with 20 laps to go. And now you've got to begin wondering, Evan, when we get to the restart, we're only going to have about 15 laps left to go. And if we get a caution with 4 or 5 laps to go, that will end the race. So these drivers are going to begin getting anxious right now. And I can't believe Bryce Whitson hasn't pit yet. He has got to be planning on making it to the end without pitting.
At this point, I don't see, what he would. I mean, you can't pit now. That's just going to be shooting yourself in the foot. So he must think that he's going to be able to make it to the end with the substantial amount of cautions that we have seen in this race. Could it be possible? Again, not familiar with these trucks and, the kind of fuel mileage that they get at this racetrack. But if he's able to stretch that thing out for the rest of this race, that would be quite an accomplishment, and that would really stun the field, including Keith Medeiros, who again gave up the race lead and evidently paid the price for it. Ended up on his lid at the corner for half to come down pit road. So that would be big if he's able to stretch this.
And there gets the wave around of Thomas Bennett. Puts him back onto the lead lap in 19th place. John Martin, after the caution, has lost his lead lap status. While there's still some trucks getting repairs on pit road, there's been trucks getting repairs on pit road all race long. And I've been trying not to do this all race because I have a feeling as soon as I would do it, I would jinx him into a crash. So at work, he'll beat me up tomorrow if he crashes in the last 20 laps. But I want to give a shout out to one of my colleagues at Fox, Jake Morris, running the number 6 truck in 12th place today. He was involved in a few of the cautions at the start of the race. He's told me, and I believe him based on the poor performance I was seeing in practice and qualifying, that back in around February, he was a front runner with the series. He's been away from for a few months, but we're glad to see him back. He's been keeping that truck mostly clean tonight. Got a few dents on it, but he's running 12th place here with 20 laps to go. And like I say, I probably just jinxed him, so he has permission to, I don't know, spill a coffee on my desk tomorrow or something.
Well, for your sake, I hope that he gets a good, solid finish, and for his sake as well. But I know you were talking about in the practice session there, running top 10. So it's not easy to kind of go away from the sim racing for a little bit and then hop right back into it and immediately catch your stride back once again. So hoping again for your sake and his that he's able to hang on for this successful run.
Meanwhile, at the front of the field, the truck's beginning to get a double file feel to them. I was wondering if we were going to see the one to go this time by. They are coming around to complete lap 84, which will be 16 laps left to go. I have a feeling, though, we may be coming to the 2 to go. We'll wait and see if lights stay on the Ford Mustang pace car. They do not, so we will get a green flag with 15 laps left to go.
And again, without the possibility of a green-white checker, that's going to limit the actual amount of racing time. You get down to 5 to go, caution race will end this. So this could essentially turn into, and based on the longest green flag runs that we've seen tonight, could eventually be almost a 10-lap shootout in some regard.
It could very well indeed, and we've begun to see Jared Hagley push it closer and closer to Bryce Whitson. And granted, even if Bryce does get spun and stays on the lead lap, he should still be able to score some points, but I'm pretty sure he wants a bit more than that today. He has control of the field right now down that high line, and they're checking up the field. There's a bit of beat in the banning coming off of turn 4, and there's a
car on the wall. There's a big check. Oh, we're wrecking down the front straightaway. 26 car up in front of the field. Big trouble down in 1 and 2. Caution's gonna fly, and it all extends from that checkup, like you said.
And multiple trucks involved, including Jake Morris, so I'm going to look for some coffee cleaner tomorrow. But yeah, Tanner Sharp was in it, Alex Bates it looks like, Dan Winter. Not that many trucks majorly damaged, but they're going to lose a lot of positions, and it's going to be hard to recuperate those this late in the race.
And again, without the possibility of a green-white checker, that's going to limit the actual amount of racing time. You get down to 5 to go, caution race will end this. So hoping again for your sake and his that he's able to hang on for this successful run. and trying to see the cause, and it looked like it may have been the 57 who was trying to guess when our leader was going to go on that restart, Samuel, and tried to accelerate with him, had to check up, and evidently the whole field got checked up. It was the 5 that ended up getting turned into the inside wall. I believe that was Dan Murray's machine. Yes, it was. He ended up in the inside wall, which caused to get a big 3-wide checkup behind him, and then eventually big junk from there on back, going back down into the corner.
I blame Bryce Whitson as much as I do Jared Hagley. I mean, I think you're right that Jared may have pushed the gas pedal a couple times more than he should have to get the jump, but I also think Bryce Whitson was bringing them down at a very slow speed, and that kind of checked them all up. Obviously, on the real road, it wouldn't happen because you're not supposed to tailgate on the real road, but in the racing world, you ride bumper to bumper on a restart such as that so that you can get every inch you can, and the problem is that as soon as someone slows down, the accordion effect just triggers, and unfortunately a lot of trucks involved in it. Fortunately, though, no one heavily damaged.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at the miles per hour, and Bryce dropped from about 50 miles an hour to about 47, and before he had even voluntarily accelerated, he was getting hit in the back end by the 15. So as much as you want to, again, that 3 mile per hour difference can really affect these guys when they're that tightly packed, that congested, knowing that you know, this could be one of the final restarts of this race, but also the fact that everybody else trying to anticipate the restart got into the back of him before he accelerated again. He can go from the pace car hits pit road to the green flag flies. He was still in his window to dictate the start of the race, and evidently I think it was everybody else that was trying to, you know, be up on a wheel, be up on the accelerator, try to get going in this one, equally caused that wreck.
That's David Gibson getting the wave around, which confuses me a little bit as he's 12 laps down. And yeah, Jake Morris is off the lead lap now. But hey, I gave him a shout out while he was on the lead lap, so there you go. Pace car lights still on. What lap did they just complete? They just completed lap 89, so we will definitely have less than 10 laps to go. And we will be able to have another caution and still finish under green. We won't be able to have another 2 more cautions. Obviously, no one can pit at this point of the race. They've just got to try and keep all 4 wheels pointing in the right direction. Jake Morris has retired from the race. He didn't really have that much damage, I don't think, but sometimes the damaged truck can be deceiving. The wheels can be pointing the wrong way, even if the shell of a truck is intact.
Yeah, we'll see incidents out here where it'll look like these trucks, I mean, are really, you know, pretty jacked up there. They'll have a lot of cosmetic damage, and, you know, they'll be able to run out there. We'll be say, how are they running that good? And equally as often, we'll see trucks out there that, you know, they look like, oh, okay, they'll be fine. They'll come down pit road, get a little bit of repairs, or even just stay out there, they'll be fine. And there's a lot of stuff underneath. The toe could be knocked out, you know, other things to that description. So the damage model can be deceiving at times, and obviously to some extent the damage is going to require him to lose that lap, and a lot of these guys out of this race.
Alright, well, we still have 18 trucks in the race. The pace car is in the pit road. 9 laps left to go. Let's hope that the leaders keep their speed up this time. They're going 50 and they're accelerating now. Jared Hagerty has got a really good restart. He's got to try and make the most of it if he wants to win, but there's a wreck going on again.
Caution going to fly once again. Trouble, the 5 machine of Dan Murray in it. Another truck involved, going to be the 14 of Jason Swan. Again, an immediate caution will fly, and it starts with the 14 machine riding, and this can go either way. You can say he was going a little low, and it looked like he got sideways off the corner, hooked the 07 machine into the wall to check up, and Dan Murray, the innocent victim in that one, who was on the bottom lane just trying to get around it, gets collected in that incident, and we once again return to the caution flag.
Yep, so another caution will end it. And I really feel bad for Trevor Haggerty because he had such a great restart that time, and I was really looking forward to seeing what he could have done with Bryce. Now, granted, it doesn't mean the race is over. He could still attempt to get a good jump on the restart here and see if he is able to win the race. And granted, we could have a green flag race to the end, but I'm really disappointed that we didn't see those two get the battle it out. unfortunately just a byproduct of this track that it's really difficult to get a good restart, especially this late on in the race when everyone's battling for every inch of the tarmac.
Yeah, and a lot of these incidents happening in the latter stages of this race, coming off of restarts earlier and throughout the race, really coming off of quarter number 4. And again, it's just the nature of this track, just the byproduct of racing here, the difficulty, and it's the way you got to drive it. Again, the lack of banking for the racing issues, that is, the racing incidents causing those styles of incidents. And, you know, it's just everybody's, again, trying to get whatever they can out of it. And there's not a lot of room for these guys to go out there and negotiate. Again, these trucks, pretty large in size compared to, you know, say an SK, a Tour Modified, a street stock, you know, those smaller kind of vehicles on the iRacing sim, and obviously what you would race here in real life. So this racetrack, not really a lot of room for these big trucks, and even with the limited field size that the ASRS has implemented for these races, again, still just challenging to be able to get enough room for these guys to go out there and race with.
Give one social media shout out before this final restart that you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing Channel, or on Twitter at GSR Channel. We'll answer your questions during the broadcast. After the broadcast, feel free to talk to us. We're there and we got a voice. Alright, pace car crosses the line, lights stay on. And that was the completion of lap 95. So at most, even if the pace lights go off next time by, we will have a 3-lap shootout. But honestly, Evan, it could come down to as little as a 1 straightaway shootout if the caution were to fly again, because iRacing does not have green-white checkers. And I know Jared Haggerty doesn't want to affect the point standings too much, but I have a feeling he's going to be giving it all he's got. But at the end of the day, Bryce Whitson has to lead across the start-finish line.
And we've seen the 57, or you think we've seen the 57, be aggressive on the pinching to the outside, on the trying to guess these restarts. He coming down to it again. This is going to be the final restart. No green-white checkers. Taking it on, the pace car lights have actually gone off, I do believe, as we double up. So we will go green to take lap number 98. 3 laps to decide it, but again, this race could end under yellow. By the time we get to turn 1, it's all up to that 00 machine to get a start and get clear down into that first corner.
Gary Whitson will finish in 19th position. No one can pass him, he can't pass anyone. Here's the problem, there are 18 trucks on the lead lap. If Bryce Whitson gets spun, despite everything he's done, and Jared Haggerty already making contact with him, he could finish 18th and only gain 1 point on Gary Whitson. So let's wait and see. Pace car is in. Bryce Whitson has control of the field. He gets a great restart, and unless Jared Haggerty does something desperate, I have a feeling Bryce has got this one in the bag.
And Jared's going to be about half a car length off his bumper. He either needs to do something heroic or have some sort of issues for the 00. He's right tucked up on the back bumper to the inside. There he goes, and just as the caution flag and trouble behind him, Jared Haggerty went to make his move, and that trouble up, and one car up at the wall. Now the caution flag will fly. Not enough time as Haggerty thought about it. We will go under yellow flag, and it is going to be Bryce Whitson.
There were about 3 different crashes there on the final lap, and the problem is, even if a caution has flown and you get involved in some kind of incident, if you have fallen below minimum speed, you will not be able to keep your position. So I have a feeling the orders got shuffled up a bit there, even after the caution flag flew.
And Haggerty went to make his move, and he thought better of it, and the caution flag had not flown at that point, so still racing for it. Haggerty realized possibly that he was not going to be able to get the job done on that one, and kind of backed out of it, went to go take another go, and by the time he regathered himself, caution flag was out, and that opportunity, the window had shut on that one.
We're seeing Tanner Sharp was at least one of the drivers involved, but let's get back to live action right now, because the field is actually on the final lap, coming through turns 3 and 4, and Bryce Whitson is about to get a giant jump in the points. He will go to Texas Motor Speedway, knowing he can probably afford a wreck there, because he will have about a 20-point lead on the rest of the field. Bryce Whitson comes across the finish line. He will win here at Lucas Oil Raceway.
He did what he needed to do. The safest place in these is up front. in front of all the trouble, and the pit strategy or lack thereof per se is what's going to be able to keep him out of trouble and evidently put him in victory lane. And he got his money worth. Jared Haggerty put up a fight for it. It was not easy, but in the end, he's able to capitalize on it. And as you said, going to have a huge lead compared to what he had entering tonight, rolling into Texas.
Dan Murray was not able to finish the final lap. We are about to go to break. Bryce Whitson here, your winner. We'll come back for interviews. Hello and welcome back to Lucas Oil Raceway, where Bryce Whitson just took the spoils here at the .69 mile flat circuit relatively in the 19th race of his 22 race season, more importantly the 4th race of a 7th race trace. And Evan, the points certainly got shook up today. Take us through the rundown.
Yeah, Bryce Whitson, he was able to come home on top, obviously finishing in the number 1 position. Jared Haggerty put up a spirited battle for it. He came home second. Third place belonged to Ricky Hardin. Tim Johnston in fourth. Cody Gibson, a fifth place result. Daniel Deffler would come home in sixth. Seventh place would belong to Jeffrey Gilliam. Jason Christen in eighth. Ninth to Dan Winter. Jim Foose would come home in a 10th place result. Thomas Bennett 11th. Randy Smith in 12th. Jason Swan, the next position back. In the official running order, going to be 13th position. 14th belonging to Tanner Sharp. 15th is Jordan Harnish. 16th, Alex Bates. 17th in the first truck, one lap down, going to be Dan Murray. 18th, Benny Ellison. 19th, Gary Whitson. That's one of the big stories on the night. 20th position would belong to David Gibson.
Yeah, and then 21st is Drake Morris, 22nd John Martin. These are all drivers that struggled tonight. Keith Medeiros probably kicking himself for making that pit stop. He will be ranked 23rd at the end. Steve Buhala 24th, Sean Music 25th. Travis Wright, Jeff Ward, Nick Cohan, Nick DiPalmo and Aaron Kleinhans round out the top 30. Our 6 non-starters were Steve Ritter, Adam Blattel, Brandon Wilkinson, Carson Orbe, Mark McDaniel and Dom Runkle. Well, there's a lot of drivers here on pit road for us to talk to, but we're going to start with our 3rd place finisher, and that would be the number 15 truck of Ricky Hardin, and I believe you've called up with him, Evan.
We're down on pit road. We've caught up with the driver, the number 15, Ricky Hardin, going to come home with a 3rd place result tonight. Ricky, a solid improvement throughout the night, 10th fastest in practice, 8th in qualifying, 3rd on the charts at the end of the night. But how did you survive that one? And I say survive sparingly because your Chevrolet looks pretty torn up, but you do get a podium result out of it.
Yeah, first of all, I got to apologize to John Martin and everybody got caught up in that wreck. Coming off turn 4, I just kind of misjudged his speed and clipped him, and it just caused a big melee. And part of it was just being in the top lane at the right time, and you just couldn't complete passes, so it was difficult, and that it showed obviously.
Working through this race, obviously the high side being the preferred lane. I mean, what kind of strategy did you have to use to make those passes? We saw some guys kind of back up the corner a little bit and kind of would duck low, center off. A lot of these guys tried to duck low on entry, almost a slide job of sorts. What did you think, and what did you find to be the most successful or the only plausible way of trying to complete a pass?
Well, the best way would have been to get on the high side of somebody entering a corner and kind of force them to slow down in the middle and give you the lane. But yeah, you can cut low and try to get a run, but it tended to get really loose if you tried to do that, and if you tried to get back to the gas too quick, and you had to wait so long that you just couldn't get a good run. So it was just really hard to make any passes. Pit road was the easiest place to make it happen, and then restarts if you got on the lucky enough to get the top lane.
Well, before we let you go, what are your thoughts moving forward in this season? We still have 3 races to go. Obviously, you're going to be shooting for a couple trips to victory lane here with the championship not a factor with you and your team.
Yeah, I'm hoping I can get a couple more wins. I've only been able to get one, and the competition level here is pretty strong. I thought I would be able to get a few more, and maybe some bad luck here and there is kind of factored into that. But a mile and a half is not my strong suit. That's where we're going next. I think Texas, and hopefully we can come away with a solid effort.
Sponsors, shout-outs, anything along those lines. Who make it happen for you in the 15 team?
Yep, thanks to Encore Technology Group for paying the bills, and Unacceptable Racing and my Unacceptable Racing teammates. Tonight I only had one in the race, Benny Ellison. He made it up to the front there at the end and then got taken out, it looked like, so feel for him. But it was a good race. Thanks, guys.
All right, once again, Ricky, congratulations on the top 3. Good luck rolling into Texas.
Appreciate it.
And Samuel, that's it down here with our 3rd place finisher. I believe you've caught up with Jared Haggerty, our P2 finisher.
Yes, I have, and I'm sure he would have liked one spot more. Jared Haggerty, you finished second tonight, but I'm pretty sure you wanted to be in victory lane.
Man, you have no idea. I was really, really wanting that win, but I got to give it up to Bryce for running me so clean and running me so hard. I mean, it was a great run all throughout the whole race. I was really surprised we were able to go with no fuel that whole race.
Looking back, is there anything you could have done differently?
If there was something to have done differently, it probably would have been to, I mean, have Bryce tell me when he was going to take off. That would have been really my only chance. But I really got to thank everybody here. Jim Foose did a great job putting on a good show tonight. Again, I got to thank Bryce Whitson and Gary Whitson for letting me hang with them tonight. I got to thank everybody at the Dino Charge Silverado team. They put on a great show tonight, along with my car designer, Dan Harrington. I got to give him a big shout out. But we're going to look to go to Texas next week and have a good run there.
Absolutely. Talk us through, with about 2 restarts left to go, there was a big stack up that immediately led to a multi-truck incident. What caused that, in your opinion? It looked like you and Bryce were kind of leading the field down to the green very slowly.
Honestly, I really have no idea. I have not had a chance to look at the replay yet, but it could have been to do with the fact, I mean, I couldn't see him on my right side because I only have the one monitor setup. So on my right hand side, I really do have to get in a position where I can see Bryce, and that unfortunately means getting right up on him just to see what's happening. And I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure what happened, but I feel really bad for the guys that right behind me. And again, I'll have to look at the replay and go from there.
Yeah, well, we look forward to seeing you back at Texas Motor Speedway next week, and hopefully you can finish one spot higher next time.
Yeah, man, I'm looking to get a win before the season is out. So I will see y'all at Texas next weekend, and I hope y'all have a good night.
Yes, you too. Thanks for putting on such a great race today. But Evan, the only driver who was able to beat Jared Haggerty on track today was Bryce Whitson, and you've caught up with him in victory lane.
First things first, Bryce, congratulations on the trip to victory lane, and even your 00 Chevrolet is pretty torn up, and I say that, but compared to some of the other ones, it pretty much looks like it came just off of the just out of the race shop. Walk us through what you had to do to survive this race. Qualifying back in 14th position, were able to pick your way up to the field as trucks fell out of it, and were able to make that fuel strategy work to the end.
Yeah, Evan, it was just a lot of luck on our part. I'll be honest. There when the 21 lost it in front of us, and we lost Gary on the outside. I really thought I was gone there, and we just decided to stay out, and then hit about lap 50, and I looked down and I said, man, I think we can make it from here. And so I tried to, and luckily we did.
Huge championship implications as you walk away with the top spot in tonight's race. You entered with a 6-point cushion over Gary, and he finishes tonight's race back in 19th. That's going to give you a pretty substantial cushion going into Texas. Still 3 races left, so can't get too comfortable, but you obviously have to like the way the championship standings are going to look exiting tonight.
Oh, for sure. It's great to have a nice lead. It lets you go out and run a little harder the last few races of the year. But I got to be honest. I hate to get a win like this, and I hate to take a lead like this in a race like we saw tonight. It's real unfortunate.
We go back to the predominant tracks here that you run with the NASCAR style series. The 1.5 track's going to be Texas Motor Speedway in 1 week's time. How confident are you rolling into that one?
Oh, I really like Texas. It's a good track to race on. There's a lot of places to run. You just got to watch getting off of turn 2 there. It can get away with you real quick. So I'm sure we'll see a lot of strategy moves there, and hopefully we'll be back up front again.
You're able to survive the melee that was the Lucas Oil Raceway race tonight, and again, a little bit of luck never hurt anybody. You're able to put it in victory lane. Sponsors and shout-outs, who makes it happen for you and the team?
Tell you what, I really got to thank Brent Baylor and Dream Big Triathlon coaching tonight, because I know he's out there watching, and he's helped me this year on running and doing triathlons, and I really appreciate his help, and it's been a lot of fun.
Once again, Bryce, congratulations on the victory. Good luck next week at Texas and also in trying to secure that championship.
Thank you, Evan.
Guys, that is tonight's winner, Bryce Whitson Jr., the 00 machine, going to put it in victory lane, Samuel.
Yeah, we have a few drivers standing by for interviews, but unfortunately I haven't got time to talk to a whole lot of them, but we will catch up with the league organiser, Jim Foose, who finished in 10th place tonight. Jim, it was a bit of an ugly race, but I have a feeling that was mainly a byproduct of the track. We know that the drivers around you are very talented.
Yeah, these guys, they do good at a lot of places, and you throw them on a short track, and sometimes you get that short track, short temper kind of thing. So I think they did a pretty decent job. Yeah, we had a lot of cautions and a lot of incidents, but at the short track, you kind of come to expect that. And when you look at the races here at the end of the season, when we started the chase, it was Talladega and this one were kind of the wild cards. And Talladega didn't have the big one last week, so we knew this one was going to be pretty wild.
Having some issues there with Samuel's mic, but Jim, rolling it into tonight's race again, this racetrack being so flat, obviously it was going to be a challenging one, knowing that the preferred lane being right up against the outside wall. I mean, you're able to come home with a top 10 result, and again, your car, we've seen it looking better at times, but I mean, walk us through, the mindset coming into this kind of race and how you felt you executed.
Well, our night was really gonna be decided on how we qualified. We ended up getting as the last one to get in on time, and didn't have to fall back on points, which was kind of nice, but also put us back there. So we had to really pick it up. I think we started 26th and ended up 10th. So pretty happy with the execution there with the Menard Chevy tonight. But it was try to pick them off one at a time. No, don't get too greedy, but at the same time, don't get run over from behind. Tonight we had a pink truck. I know you guys have been giving me a hard time about every week this thing has a different wrap on it. So this week we had Susan G. Coleman. We're chasing the Cure. Little play there on the chase. So chasing the Cure tonight, and hopefully put on a good show for those folks, and of course our fine folks over at Menards. They just gave us a great truck, our team did tonight. Really happy with it.
All right, well, thank you for talking to us, Jim Foose, and congratulations on your top 10. We know Bryce Whitson's got a good, handy points lead now, but certainly should keep, mathematically, should keep you alive for at least another round or so.
Yeah, definitely. We're still in this deal. One bad race away from really being out of it, and probably not being the center of people's discussions when they talk about championship contenders. But our Menard Chevy, we're going to try to get it up there and try to do what we can. I'd like to get a win before the season's over, but just really happy to get a top 10. It's been a while, so really happy to be back.
Well, it was a relatively destructive race tonight. However, there are certainly drivers, especially in the top 10, that have good stories, and some of them were lined up for interviews. We just couldn't quite talk to them in our time allotment. Tim Johnston in 4th place and Jason Christen in 8th place are notable chase drivers who had good finishes despite being involved in incidents. Also a shout out to Daniel Deffler there, who got 6th place despite being a lap down early on. So, meanwhile, before we go, we have a few people we would like to thank for being able to put on this broadcast. We would like to thank Jim Foose and the organisers of this league. We also would like to thank the makers of the various software and hardware that help make this stream possible: iRacing.com, XSplit, Audio Technica, and Ava Media. Thanks to the team today, Kevin and Giancarlo and Evan. I'm sorry, I forgot to update that. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel, and Facebook at oh, sorry about that. And Facebook at facebook.com/Global Sim Racing Channel. A big thanks to Dougie Beard for creating the camera sets that you saw during the stream, and a special thank you to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with much of our music. You can not only find it here on GSLC, but on TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Our next race in the series will be, as we said, Texas Motor Speedway, round 20. That's round 5 of a 7-race race. Same time next week, 9 PM Eastern Time on Wednesday, October 29th, 2 days before Halloween. Until then, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.